Overthinking isn't thinking more, it's thinking in circles. Most people believe overthinking means being analytical. It doesn't. It means repeating the same thought without reaching resolution. Overthinking is a loop. You consider a decision. You imagine possible outcomes. You question those outcomes. You reconsider the decision. And then you restart the cycle. Nothing changes, except your level of tension. Psychologically, overthinking is a response to uncertainty. The human brain dislikes uncertainty. It prefers prediction. It prefers control. It prefers closure. When a situation feels unclear, the brain tries to simulate answers. It runs mental scenarios. What if this happens? What if that fails? What if I regret this? Simulation feels useful. It feels responsible. But simulation does not equal progress. In fact, the more scenarios you simulate, the less certain you feel, because each possibility introduces a new variable. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you need to send an important message. Maybe it's a job application. Maybe it's a difficult conversation. Maybe it's simply expressing an opinion. You write the message, then you reread it. You adjust one sentence. You imagine how the other person might interpret it. You rewrite it. You delete half of it. You think, maybe this sounds too aggressive. Maybe this sounds weak. What if they misunderstand? You close the message. You reopen it an hour later. You edit it again. Hours pass. The message is still not sent. This is overthinking. Not because you lack intelligence, but because you are trying to eliminate all risk. Intelligent people often overthink more, not because they are wiser, but because they see more possibilities. More possibilities create more doubt, and doubt prolongs decision-making. Here's how the loop works. Step 1, you identify a problem. Step 2, you imagine possible solutions. Step 3, you imagine potential negative consequences. Step 4, you attempt to refine the solution. Step 5, you realize the refined solution also carries risk, so you return to step 1. The brain believes it is reducing risk. In reality, it is increasing hesitation. Overthinking consumes energy. Each mental simulation activates emotional response. Anxiety rises, tension builds, fatigue follows. But no external action occurs. This is why overthinking feels exhausting without being productive. It mimics problem solving, but it delays decision-making. There is an important distinction between analysis and overthinking. Analysis moves toward resolution. Overthinking circles around uncertainty. Analysis ends with commitment. Overthinking ends with postponement. The brain overthinks because it wants to avoid regret. Regret is emotionally painful. So the mind tries to pre-eliminate mistakes. But eliminating all mistakes is impossible. So the loop continues. Overthinking becomes a protective habit. It protects identity. If you never act, you never fail publicly. If you never decide, you never risk being wrong. In this way, overthinking can become avoidance. Not conscious avoidance, cognitive avoidance. It feels intelligent, it feels careful, but it reduces momentum. And momentum is essential for clarity. Clarity often comes from action, not from extended contemplation. The paradox is simple. The more you think, the less certain you feel, because thinking expands possibility, and expanded possibility expands doubt. Overthinking is not solved by thinking harder. It is reduced by setting limits, time limits, decision limits, option limits. The goal is not perfect certainty, it is sufficient clarity. Overthinking feels productive, but it prevents movement. And movement is what creates real feedback. If you want to reduce overthinking, reduce the number of times you revisit the same decision. Make the choice, send the message, test the action, adjust later. But stop simulating endlessly. Overthinking is not intelligence. It is uncontrolled cognitive repetition. And repetition without resolution is mental noise. Understanding the loop is the first step. Interrupting it requires action.